All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Ben, Big Marley, Hebrew Cheetah, Sean Sullivan, Quinlan, the 250K man. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate everyone hanging out. Mark's in here as well. We're doing this on Wednesday, just like last week. We will be back to our regular UFC schedule, though, starting next week again on Fridays at, what is it now, 1 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it's been, 2 weeks now. Waste Management, all the ship and crew out in Phoenix yesterday. This weekend, I'll be heading down by my man, Hebrew Cheetah, in LA, heading to the fights in Anaheim, UFC 298. So we're getting this one out a little early for you. 12 fights, live crowd. I mean, man, Volk for you. We go down some of these fights. Absolutely banger of a card. 10 of the 12 are expected to finish. One of those two that aren't is a Marab fight. So we know that scores well in DFS. I'm expecting some pretty big scores, some fun fights, a lot of violence. I'm pretty pumped. How are you doing, my man?
Yeah, great card. Really can't wait for this one. I think it's just going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be a crazy DraftKings card as well. Probably lots of high scores. But yeah, just a solid pay-per-view, worth the money. Jealous that you and Rio are getting to go out there. Wish I could be out there with you guys again. But I feel like I'm getting sick already from flying back. I have I'm batting 100%, I think. Flying back west to east, getting sick on the next day. So hopefully it'll hold up throughout the show. But I'm excited to talk this one out with you. I'm still kind of early in the week, but I've already finished my first run on everything. I got everything up on the site too. Just finished ownership, so we could talk about it. But I might just adjust things as we go along. You might be able to change my mind on a few things here and there, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of my research done as well. Last week's card, 14 fights. The name value wasn't as great. It was a lot harder for me there. This week, the fade fights were pretty easy for me. The underweight tags were pretty easy for me. I'm just going to have to mix and match. Again, 12 fights, not 14. So got to get a little more contrarian, maybe use a little more money if you're trying to solo ship, or just probably don't play the main event. Volk and Taforia, that's another easy way to get different right there. Big Marley's laughing. Not something I think he'll be doing. However, we do know how to get different on this card, and you do already have ownership up. I'll have most of my stuff done today, but when we go fight by fight, I will mention what we have at ownership right now. Again, only Wednesday. A lot will change. Everything will be up by Friday for sure. Updates in yellow, etc. I'll be at the fight Saturday, so I'll still be on my phone checking Discord for questions. Big Marley will be in there as well. Got projections, fight rankings, slate plan, core reports, everything you need in MMA to be successful. And shout out Big Marley. Sheets, he tracks. Shout out Cheats too. He's been on fire in the NBA streets. Tracks ownership throughout the whole industry. We have been, ever since we started Ship It, and Sheets has been tracking us. We've been number one in the industry in MMA ownership, and I take zero credit for that. That is all Big Marley over there. So definitely an ownership game. MMA is very important. Big Marley has done the best thus far. So good stuff right there. Kim's in here as well. Michael Peterson in here as well. What did Rio say? Had to work on his NBA stuff, pop in. Yeah, big boy slate. X out of this MMA show, Rio. Get back to NBA. We'll be talking a couple hours. Monster slate right there. Last thing to note before we go fight by fight, why we're doing this show even an hour earlier than last week. Tambo, Hoop, and D-Gen going live in an hour, 55 minutes now, talking about the merger. If anyone has any questions, just letting the people everything we knew. We soft launched it last week. Anything you need to know, NASCAR is going to be here. Peach, talk about good projections and ownership. Man, D-Gen and golf absolutely crushes that as well. So 55 minutes, go right to this MMA show, right to the merger, D-Gen, Hoop, Tambo, and go right to the NBA show later with Rio and I talking to big boy slate. So happy Valentine's Day for anyone out there as well. Appreciate the like button. Big Marley, anything you want to talk about before we go fight by fight?
No, let's get it. I'm pumped.
First fight of the night, women's division, and only 1 of 2 fights expected to go the distance. It's Marab Cejudo fight. And then this fight to kick off the night, Miranda Maverick, Andrea Lee, 8,900 is Maverick, 7,300 Andrea Lee. Looking at the odds in this one, Maverick minus 185, Lee plus 160. The most likely fight to go the distance on the card at plus 225. Maverick, solid inside the distance prop, plus 265. Lee plus 800. In terms of our ownership in this one, we have Maverick at 14%, Lee at 14%, one of the lower owned fights on the card. Take it away right away.
Yeah, I think this is one of my least favorite fights on the card, but I'm also fine with either side. I was really going back and forth on this fight, picking a winner, though. I feel like it's really close, and we're going to get a 29-28 either way type of thing. And usually I pick the underdog when that happens, but I feel like Lee needs to keep this fight standing to have a chance. And when she is taken down, she just spends too much time off her back, and that's Maverick's best path to victory. I do give Lee the striking edge, but I give Maverick the wrestling and grappling edge in this one. And usually I like to side with the grappler over the striker when I'm thinking about minutes in a fight. So I kind of like Maverick to be the one winning 2 rounds in this one, Lee taking another one if Maverick can't land those takedowns. But if that's the case, I just don't think that we're going to get a high enough score in this fight. And my preferred play is to just fade it. However, if Maverick is going to win all 3 rounds with her wrestling, then she could put up a good score. And she usually does score over 100 points when she wins. She also won't be too owned. So I think she's in play for those reasons. And then on the other side, if she can't land those takedowns, I think Lee could win all 3 rounds on the feet. And she probably puts up more than 10x her $7,300 score as well. So she's a solid pay down if you're looking for a live underdog to win. As I just don't think she's getting 100 points in this fight. I don't think she even has that in her ceiling, really. So it's more a play to win. I don't like a whole lot of underdogs on this card. So, again, she's in play for that reason. I don't even have a preferred play in this one. Like, if I was making one lineup and you forced me to use this fight, I'd probably rather save the money and throw in Lee because there are a lot of favorites I just want to squeeze in on this card. But Maverick will be one of the lowest owned favorites on the card. You can get really different there. So you can really talk me into anything. I'm kind of hoping you have a take in this one, but my pick to win is Maverick 29-28.
Yeah, so this was one of my, I tried to have 4 fades. I was just right away to start the night. I put this as a full fight fade, but I'm debating, and I'm still debating Neal, Ian Garry, Robert Whitaker, and Miranda Maverick. I'm going to have 2 of them. I don't like really any of the 3, especially relatively speaking in the upper tier. One of them is going to get the fade treatment. The other 2, I'm going to keep in my pool and go underweight. I mean, the other 2 have better inside the distance props slightly. They're all relatively similar. Maverick has the wrestling upside where Garry doesn't. I think Whitaker does a little bit. So I think it's between Garry and Maverick. I'm debating the fade. The problem is, like you're saying, I'm picking Andrea Lee to win this fight. I think the odds are too wide. On the feet, I give Lee the advantage. Maverick on the mat. And then it comes to, like, who would I pick if I had to pick one? I think it is Maverick. Even though with the $1,600 difference, when she wins, in her 5 UFC wins, 104, 119, 110. Somehow I'm missing the other 2. She's 3-1 in her last 4, and those wins 104, 119, and 110. And Lee has been controlled off her back. Poor takedown defense, 54%. I don't love this fight. Again, I'm going to fade in 20 and below, I think. If I do change, it'll be Maverick underweight. And I'll fade one at Garry and Whitaker. But, man, I just think if Lee wins, she probably scores 70 to 80. And if Maverick wins, probably somewhere in the 75, 85, maybe 95 range. But I do think Lee is a solid fighter. If you look at who's like Miranda Maverick's been beaten up, I mean, Ketchuware's got nothing up her back. I think it was Mazzo who's out of the UFC. So, yeah, at the end of the day, maybe Maverick gets a takedown or something. Lee can work her way back up. This fight goes 15 minutes. Only other fight not supposed to go 15 minutes is Cejudo. That's expected to go all 15, or Cejudo Merab. And Merab, we know, averages whatever takedown 6 or something. Could put up 150 in 15 minutes. So, yeah, anything else to add? I mean, I guess between Whitaker, Ian Garry, and Maverick, which one do you have the least interest in? Which one would you fade?
Least interest for me is going to be Whitaker in that one. We can talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So that's what I'm debating right there. The least appealing fight on the card for me, though, and the props do agree to kick it off in the women's division. Keep it rolling. This should be a fun fight. Oban Elliott, Val Woodburn. 9,300 is Elliott. 6,900 is Val Woodburn. Looking at the odds in this one, Elliott, one of the biggest favorites on the card at minus 310. Woodburn plus 260 on the way back. This fight's minus 200 to finish. Elliott minus 110 inside the distance. Val Woodburn plus 360. I mean, I guess take it away and start with this Elliott guy. I mean, minus 310 feels very, very wide. I think he's going to come out, maybe put on the wrestling shoes a bit. I guess start with that. Val Woodburn, grown-ass man, really strong. Only seen him in the UFC for a little bit before he got knocked out by Bo Nickel. But line feels a little wide. A good fight to target is how I see it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. So Elliott's making his UFC debut, and Woodburn, he made his UFC debut. He's just thrown to the wolves against Bo Nickel, but now he's dropping to 170 pounds for the first time. And this guy's just a tank. But other than him being super strong and powerful, like he's got nothing else. Like he's not good at fighting. He could just land a big shot. He can even powerhouse some wrestling attempts and kind of hang out in top control and land some big bombs there as well. But skill wise, Elliott's better everywhere. And the thing with Elliott is he's not really good anywhere. He's just okay everywhere, it seems. He's going to be the higher paced fighter in this one. He's going to have the better cardio. He's the more skilled striker. He's the more skilled wrestler. I just think if he doesn't eat a big shot, he's going to win this fight. But I don't know how he's going to win the fight. I don't know if he wants to go out there and try and get a knockout, which I think would probably come later in the fight once he starts to wear down Woodburn, because Woodburn just, he'll be huffing and puffing in the second round, especially at 170. At 170, I would imagine it's going to be even worse cutting all that weight, but I don't know. We'll see what he looks like at 170. But I also think Elliott could go out there and land takedowns on each round. And then the longer this fight goes, the more he can just really start piling up points on the ground against a gassed out Woodburn and then find a finish along the way as well. So I do think that Elliott's a good play, and I think he's a really good pivot away from what I expect to be a chalky Nakamura. But I also think that there's guys we could pay less for who could outscore Elliott, just because I'm not impressed with his overall skill set. He's just pretty good. The only thing is that he's fighting a guy who's not good. So I like that about him. And then on the other side, Woodburn, if he wins this fight, it's probably going to be an early knockout, breaks the slate. So I do want some of him, but I don't want to bank on that happening. So I'll at least match the field, maybe go a little bit overweight because I don't think he'll get too much ownership, but my preferred play is going to be Elliott, and I think he can win by any method.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying for sure. So the upper tier is interesting. Nakamura, 9,600, short notice replacement, over minus 1,000, clearly going to be the highest price guy up there. Then you got a $300. You get Elliott, Garry, Whitaker, Miranda Maverick, Fluffy Hernandez, Barlo, Murad Dvalishvili. How it goes is Rinya will be probably the highest owned on the slate. Open Elliott will get some. Garry, Whitaker, Maverick, I think, are all the lowest owned in that range. Then you get the Hernandez, Barlo, Murad, all going to get, I think, a decent bit of ownership. And that's how we have it in our ownership right now. We have Barlo a little low owned, still higher than Maverick, Whitaker, and Garry. So back to bringing that to this fight, $300. Everyone's going to try and go Nakamura and find that $300. Elliott's going to get some because I think most agree he's a better play than Garry, Whitaker, Maverick. But you do have that mid 8K range that's absolutely loaded this week. And with only 12 fights, there's some solid dogs, but it's not like we had 14 fights. Or I feel like the last 2 weeks, dogs have been more appealing. So I do think if people can't get to Nakamura, they'll maybe go a little Elliott. Otherwise, you're just going to go in the 8K range, maybe avoid this whole 9K range. I'm going to play it. 29% we have them. Val Woodburn. So what do you think the wrestling upside is in this one? Like, I've seen Elliott, he shoots for takedowns. Val Woodburn, he's physically strong. But if he's on his back and he can't get up or he gets tired, I feel like we do have some wrestling upside on DraftKings in this one.
So, yeah, I think if Elliott gets a takedown, he probably can stay there as long as he wants to and maybe finish the fight. I would expect absolutely nothing from Woodburn off his back. But my issue is that Woodburn's going to be the stronger fighter here. So the first round, when he's more powerful, what happens if he gets on top? I mean, I don't think Elliott will be in trouble like Woodburn would be off his back, but it's just going to be him not scoring if that happens, and it'll be taken away from his potential ceiling. So, I mean, I definitely give Elliott the overall edge, but that first round wrestling, I don't know if he'll be able to get him down. And I also think that Woodburn's live for a takedown or two in that first round. I just don't know that other than landing some heavy ground and pound, Woodburn's not going to do a lot with it. He's not a good grappler. He's not really good at controlling fights other than just being big and hanging out there. So yeah, first round, I'm not sure. Second round starts to be Elliott edge pretty decently. And if it gets to the third, I feel like Elliott probably wins the entire round with wrestling if he doesn't.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, yeah, the last props on this one, we got Elliott minus 110 inside the distance. And, again, almost half the ownership as Nakamura up there. I think I will be playing Elliott, no doubt about that. Woodburn, we have him at 9%. Plus 360 inside the distance is pretty good at 9% as well. As a punt all the way down there. If he wins, should score well. Round one props in this one. Elliott plus 325. Woodburn plus 600. Yeah, both these guys will be in my pool of the 4 fades I have. It's not this fight. I think Woodburn probably loses. I'm not really sure. I like the Elliott side more than I do the Woodburn side just because I like the pivot from Nakamura, and I hope he does wrestle, puts on the wrestling shoes. He's expected to finish. I mean, minus 110. If he does get that, he scores 111. Nakamura scores 110. Right there, you get a big jump with half the ownership. So give me some Elliott. I hope he wrestles. Woodburn probably, he's strong. Probably needs to land on the chin. 9%. I'll probably be somewhere around there is how I see it. Stat card, what's going on, Nickel? Stat card indeed. Great pay-per-view. Very pumped for this one. Next fight on the cards. This one should be a lot of fun. Danny Barlo taking on Josh Quinlan. Quinlan in on short notice for Kinoshita. 8,700 is Barlo, 7,500 is Quinlan. Looking at the odds in this one, minus 190 is Barlo, plus 165 on the way back for Quinlan. This fight's minus 250 to finish. We got Barlo plus 100 inside the distance. Quinlan plus 250. Yeah, I'll throw it right to you in this one. Looks like striker versus striker to me. Barlo, long fighter, big fighter. Quinlan known for his power. I think someone probably falls in this one. But maybe it needs to be in round 1 or 2. If it gets to the third round or pass, I'm not sure it'll score enough. Again, I'm expecting some big scores on this card. The optimal probably to be over 600 with 10 of the 12 fights expected to finish.
Yeah, that's a good short little breakdown already. I think that we are going to get a striking match here. Both guys have knockout power. It is minus 250 to end inside the distance, which makes me like it more just on metrics. But really on both sides, we need the knockout. Even for more than 10x, probably we need the knockout because I don't expect either side to look for takedowns unless they get cracked and they're trying to buy some time. But if Barlo wins this fight over the course of 3 rounds, he might score 60 points in a striking match. Quinlan's never been knocked out. Barlo's never been knocked out. So I have a hard time just picking this fight to end in knockout. I did put it currently as a 3-star on the fight rankings because they're both in play for 100+ points if that knockout is in the first round. And they won't get too much ownership, I don't think. But I also am fine moving it down to a 2-star after I start building my lineups if I don't end up with a lot of this fight because I do prefer people around Barlo. I like other underdogs to have a better chance of winning, also more ways to hit a ceiling. So I could definitely see me being just low on both sides and possibly even fading it. Because it does seem like a knockout or bust. I don't know, man. They both got power. I could see the knockout happening and me just being pissed off. So I'm not sure what I'll do with this one. Maybe like a 10% each side just to get a little bit. But I think this will be more of a optimizer type fight for MME for me. And I don't see it being in my single entry either side really. But my preferred play is going to be Barlo. I think it's kind of a lot like Quinlan's last fight, where Barlo's going to be the taller, longer, faster, more skilled striker. And I just think he picks his way to a 29-28 or 30-27 unanimous decision and just doesn't even hit 10x. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think this fight goes a lot of like the last one too. I mean, Barlo a lot like Trey Waters. He's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage in this one, 2 inches in height. Trey Waters, out doubled Quinlan in strikes last time, 104-50. I
don't see Barlo doing that. That's really the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, Trey Waters was styling on him, like his head movement, the jab, all of that. As far as just like Trey Waters' reach, though, 77, really big for the division. Now we got Barlo even higher. I think Barlo probably has some more one hit power than Trey Waters does. I don't know. I mean, these inside the distance, plus 100, plus 250. I can't ignore it that way. Looking at the odds, so I don't know. I was going back and forth. Like, if I had to pick one, who would I play in this one? And I was going to go Quinlan, even though Barlow's my pick just because of his price. But how we have, again, talking ownership's always important in MMA. 8,800, Fluffy Hernandez, 36%. Barlo, we have at 8,700 at 19%. Marab, 8,600, 38%. Rogerio de Lima, 85, 35%. Zang Ming Yang, or Ming Yang Zang, whatever one it is, 33%. Then you get to Tapori and Volk down there. They're going to be really high on at 82, 8K. So Barlo seems to be kind of forgotten in this range. Again, you've been absolutely money on ownership. It totally makes sense. Sandwich in between wrestlers. Maybe just for that reason alone, like Barlo Barlo round one props, plus 350. Not great, but maybe you get like 25% Barlo, maybe a little overweight there. Hope it's a round one or round two. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm going to be playing with 12 fights on the card and pretty big ownership differences in the top tier. I'm going to be playing some Oben Elliott, and I'm going to be playing some Barlo because I don't love Garry, Whitaker, and Maverick as much, and everyone else is chalky up there. So, yeah, I'm playing Barlo. I hope he wins. I'll play some Quinlan at 7,500. I do have some reservations like you, though, Marley. If this fight gets outside of round two, it probably will not score well. But we do have under 1.5 at about plus 110, under 2.5 at only $2 minus 185. Any final thoughts on this one?
No, just talking about it. I ended up moving it to 2-star as we were speaking. So right now it's 2-star, and then maybe the other way around. If I end up with more than I think, I'll move it to a 3-star. But have not built lineups yet, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. And again, we talk about it. You can always plug Barlo in. Take Barlo out and plug in like Ming Yang Zhang, leave the 300. I would say that usually gets you different though, but on a slate like this, I don't even think that gets you contrarian. Maybe use a Barlo over an Elliott and leave 600 that way or something. I probably wouldn't go finish a lineup, plug in Nakamura, go Nakamura down to Barlo, since I don't think the odds of him outscoring him are that great. I would try and get different in, like I said, play Nakamura or him together, play Barlo over Oben Elliott, one of those other guys in the top tier that have less upside. Let's keep it rolling. Huge fight right here, right in the mid tier, very important. Ming Yang Zhang taking on Bretson Roberio. Minus 115 is Zhang, plus or minus 105 is Roberio. This fight, minus 700 to finish, minus 700. Zhang minus 110 inside the distance, Roberio plus 140. Looking at the odds in this one, we have Zhang 33%. Roberio 29%. This is chalk. I'm definitely eating Big Marley. 84-78. I think someone falls in this one. Looks like two primary strikers to me. Definitely hittable on both sides. I don't think their submission game's awful, but man, I'm not sure what I'm expecting for these two, like career-wise in the UFC. But I'm expecting a fun fight today, no doubt about, or this weekend, no doubt about that. I'll throw it to you on a question. If you had to make a rule, max one or at least one in this fight or the main event, which one are you going for?
Main event. But
because the inside the distance prop, minus 160 in main event, minus 700 in this one. Obviously, so many more outs, like both Tapuri and Volk can get there in decisions, but it is interesting.
If this fight makes it out of round one, and if there's no finish, neither one of these guys is scoring, where the main event could be they could be a stack on the freaking optimal lineup because this shit could just be a 5-round fight of the year type of war. But yeah, I mean, I just think that this is close to both of them. You can make a rule for both of them, really. We got minus 700 inside the distance, minus 190 to win in round one. They're priced near the mid-range. They're both killer be killed fighters. They've both been to the decision one time and they lost. All their wins are finishes. So, yeah, load up on this fight. I don't even have a preferred play. I ended up picking Roberio because he had a little plus next to his name, and it's really a coin flip to me. But on DFS, I'm very interested in this fight, and I'm going to be loading up. If I had to pick one, though, I'd rather save that $600 and go Roberio. But this will be in most of my lineups, 85% plus of my lineups. Whereas the main event, I'm going to make a rule that one of them are in every lineup.
You are going to make a rule. All right. Yeah, no, I'm with you, too. I have no preferred lean. My preferred lean, it comes down to just game theory. like we talk about a lot, it's Roberio, because make a lineup, plug in Zang, take out Zang, go Roberio. You just left 600, and you can eliminate dupes there. And it pretty much a coin flip fight. Like, yeah, Sean V's always in here. Zang, a lot of these Chinese dudes have been fighting like on the pro scene since 17 years old, fighting cans for sure. But there's something to be said about fighting grown-ass men as a kid, getting in there, getting experience, getting punched in the face. I mean, he's definitely been knocked out. It feels like he has some power too. He's hittable though. I think someone early is gonna get put down, is how I see it. Like you said, minus 190 in round 1 for this fight to finish. I don't think either of these two wrestle. Do you? Unless they get clocked, do you think they just stand and someone falls?
That was another reason I picked Roberio. I do think he's the more likely wrestler in this one. Both of them are pretty awful off their backs.
Yeah.
So either one of them could have success in top control. But the way I kind of saw it was Zang is the scarier striker, the one that's going to be swinging heavier bombs, planting his feet and trying to kill this guy. Whereas Roberio can knock this guy out as well. But I thought he was more likely to maybe look for takedowns, and I think he could spend a lot of time in top control, finish the fight with the submission, finish the fight with the TKO on the ground. So I just thought he had more ways to win, which helped me lean towards him. Yeah, I don't know that I would project any real takedowns in this one. Maybe just one, I guess. If you're looking at these prop sites, I doubt it would be over one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that for DFS, that's where all my interest in. You're not going to see me betting on either side of this fight. Like, I don't see how it's going to play out, but it just seems like it's very important for DraftKings. We're probably going to get 100+ points, and at 84 and 7,800, that's going to be on the optimal lineup.
Yeah, no doubt. I plan on making a rule like the main event in 20 and below. Maybe I'll take a step back and be like at least one of this fight and the main event. A lot of my lineups will probably have 2 of them. Again, it's an ownership game. These are 2 definitely popular fights, but you definitely can't ignore these at all. I will say the last thing on this one, when you're looking at submission props, only 2 books have it, BetOnline and then Unibet. On BetOnline, Zang has a better sub prop, 550 to 650. Then it's flipped on the other site, 750 to 600. So, yeah, books think it's going to stay on the feet, but they don't even know who would have the advantage on the mats. Again, outside of Roberio, just because Zang 600 more, built the lineup, plug in Zang, take Zang out, plug in Roberio, leave 600 plus, and usually get off a couple more dupes in that one. Appreciate everyone hanging out, 30 watching, like button, we always appreciate it. And again, doing the show Wednesday, I'll be heading to the fights with my man Rio. Everything will be up Friday, as always, even earlier. Again, Marley got ownership up. We'll get all of this to the site. He's got his fight rankings on the site as well. If you do want a little early look, all my stuff will be up today. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, for sure by Friday. A lot of my fights already done, though, as well. Just like talking with Marley, switching a couple tags back and forth, finalizing stuff. And, of course, line movement. We'll be tracking that weigh-ins all the way until fight night. Next fight on the card, this one I will not waste your time on. Rinya Nakamura taking on Carlos Vera. 9,600 Nakamura, 6,600 is Vera. Vera taking this fight for Brady Heastand on somewhat short notice. Minus 1,200 is Nakamura. Plus 750 is Carlos Vera. This fight's minus 250 to finish. Nakamura is minus 260 inside the distance. Vera plus 1,400. Yeah, I mean, Nakamura, we have at 49%, 9,600. If he can fit him, great. He's going to probably put up 100 plus. Will that be enough, though? And that all really depends on, I think, how many dogs come through. So I guess, Marley, what are you doing with Nakamura on this card? Because he could put up 118 and still not be on the optimal just because of the pricing, the other scores from dogs, top-tier guys, etc. So what are you doing?
See, I started doing all my my work over at Shipping Nation with Nakamura as my first core play. Before I did anything else, I was like, easy win. Guys, pick him to finish in round 1. We don't even need him to finish in round 1 because he can wrestle. If he wants to go out there and land 10 takedowns, spend 13 minutes of top control time, he could do that. And he could score 120 in a decision type thing. But then I'm going through the rest of the card. I'm like, God dang, I think everybody's going to score over 100 points here. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to a $9,600 Nakamura as much as I thought I would. So I don't know. I kind of, like in my mind, I would like to be around field weight, get him in close to 50% of my lineups. But I don't know. As I start building lineups, I could really talk myself into going down to Elliott. I could talk myself into going down to Hernandez, Marab, Lima, Ming Yang, Lemos, Volkanovski, like all these people have really similar ceilings. So at this point, I'm kind of talking myself into being underweight on Nakamura. But I mean, I don't like to throw around the L word much, but if there's a lock on this card, it's Nakamura. Like he's your for sure win. Whereas all these other names that I named off could lose and we wouldn't be a little bit surprised, you know? I think the only way Nakamura has a chance of losing this fight is he goes for a takedown, he gets caught in a guillotine. That's it. That's the only way. I don't know. Or a DQ, like he's elbowing this guy with freaking 12-6 elbows, you know, something crazy. But Vera, there's nothing good about Vera. There's no way he's going to win a single minute in this fight. It's got to be a guillotine. That's the only way I see it happening. So I'm going to fade Vera. I feel like, you know, he's at 3-4% ownership. It's already too much. I'm cool on that. So it's all about Nakamura. What are we going to do with him? I don't know. I'll probably update it once I get my lineups built. I'll let people know in my fight rankings what I did end up with. But as of now, I'm not sure. I'm kind of like ownership. I'm just kind of 50-50 on this one. But it's all Nakamura or pass.
I was waiting for you to go with your classic, like round one prop and play whatever that would be. And it was minus 110. No, it was minus 125 yesterday. Now it's plus 100. And I think the inside the distance prop was minus 350. Now it's moved up. So some money coming in on the over a bit. I mean, under 1.5 in this is plus 120. Obviously, a lot of that is because they're assuming Vera doesn't do anything. So it's really just on the Nakamura side. I'm with you, though. Like, if I had to guess right now, if I'd be overweight, underweight, or on the field, I probably will say underweight. And that's just because, I mean, 9,600 in a tier of his own. I like leaving money on the table. Like, I'll be playing the main event or that Zang fight we just talked about. Like, I know I'm eating other chalk spots. You can't eat chalk everywhere. It's harder to leave more salary on the table playing Nakamura. I'm not going to be making any rules or, like, min-max exposures. I'm going to have in my pool. If I somehow got 70% and love my script, I'll definitely play 70% Rinya. Now, if I don't, though, and I only have 20% Nakamura and I love everything else, I still think I'd be fine with 20% just because knowing – he'll be 50, maybe even a little more. And just he scores 112. All you need is Elliott, Anthony Hernandez, Marab, Lima, probably two of those guys if you're talking the mid 8K guys. But there's so many guys on this card. 10 of the 12 is expected to finish. A lot of wrestlers as we go up here. These guys have some big boy upside for sure. So, I mean, man, what, Nakamura, do you think he wrestles at all, or do you think he keeps it easy? He's a former wrestler. He's definitely shown a lot more striking as of late, transitioning his MMA game into striking, or transition his wrestling into MMA and mixed martial arts. But is he going to knock him out, or is he going to wrestle a bit?
I'm picking first round knockout as my ultimate prediction, but my notes start off by saying Nakamura by any way he wants. So I don't know what the hell he's going to do. For
sure. I agree with that.
Anything he wants to do, he could do it.
He's a stud. I mean, yeah, he's the real deal anyway. It's not even, I think Vera's bad. I think Nakamura is the real deal. So it's both sides. Again, short notice. His stand fight would have been more fun. I still think Nakamura would have owned him. Appreciate that, Will. Appreciate those words, man. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card, again, 27 minutes. You will get Hoop, the Jen, and Tambo. We'll try and get out of there right by then. Talking merger deal. Any questions for that? NASCAR is going to be here. Daytona this weekend. Discord already open for the NASCAR streets. Getting very fun over here at chippingnation.com. NFL over. It is sad. All the PGA, the MMAs of the world in full force. And, of course, MLB will be here before we know it. Next fight on the card, big boys. The only big boy fight on the card. Marcos Rogerio de Lima taking on Justin Tafa. 8,500 de Lima. 7,700 is Justin Tafa. This fight's minus 500. To finish, we got De Lima and Tafa both plus 120 inside the distance. Tafa round one plus 290. De Lima round one plus 290. Another good fight. Expected to finish. Very heavily favored to finish. Right in the mid-tier, Big Marley. That's what I'm saying. I think this card is going to score probably over 600 in the optimal. What combinations do you get right? We're going to talk about Lemos next. Hernandez, Kopylov. I mean, all these fights damn near exposed to finish. Both sides right here, plus 120. Who do you got?
So, yeah.
Plus 120 inside the distance, I should say. Who do you got?
Either side at plus 290 in round one doesn't sound great, but fight ends in round one is minus 141. And then we got fight ends inside the distance minus 500. So this is just a lot like the Zang and Roberio fight to me. I don't have a good feeling about who wins, but I think it's going to end in round one. They're near the mid range, so they're probably going to score 100 plus and be on the optimal no matter who it is. If this is a striking match and these guys come in there and they just trade in a phone booth, I think Tafa knocks him out. If Lima's smart, I think he could look for a takedown and then just dominate the fight on the ground, get a finish there early in the fight. But Lima could also knock out Tafa in the first round too if they are fighting in a phone booth. So for me, I just leaned towards Lima to have more ways to win this fight, and he's my preferred play. But if I need $700 or more, $800 or more, I'm moving down to Tafa. I think that this is just a fight I want in most of my lineups, 85% or more of my lineups, and I don't have that strong of a take on who is going to win this fight. So just load up on this fight. Whoever your take is, get a little bit more of them, but you don't want to fade the other guy because this fight's probably going to be on the optimal lineup, and it's kind of a coin flip on who it's going to be, but give me Lima.
Do you think Lima wrestles at all?
I said I picked him to do that. I said if he's smart, he'll wrestle. But man, these fighters aren't usually very smart, so I don't know. He's not a wrestler per se,
no.
But in a fight where you're only facing a striker and you do have a ground game, why wouldn't you? You know?
Yeah, I mean, and if you do get the takedown when you're on top, I mean, he's so big. The dude Tafa, he won't get up. He has nothing off his back. Maybe conserve a bit of energy. I picked Marcos Rogério de Lima for that, like on the feet, very close. Both guys hit hard. I do like de Lima's leg kicks a lot. Big leg kick guy, of course. But the reason I picked him and why I think the odds are probably right is de Lima can get a takedown. Tafa can't. And if he does, he's probably there all around. But Tafa's got power. And again, he can go right back to the same. If I had more Tafa than de Lima at the end of the day, I'd be fine with that. And any de Lima or any team you build and have de Lima in it, take them out, $800 plus, leave Tafa. And right there, you just eliminated a lot of dupes. Pretty much the same upside as well. I mean, Tafa, a lot of power. Someone probably goes down in this fight unless de Lima puts on the wrestling shoes. Any chance of both gassing early and being an ugly decision win?
Yeah, I was going to say that's similar to the Zang Roberio. I am going to make a rule for the main event, but I'm not going to necessarily make a rule for these two. But I think you could, is that if this fight gets extended, I don't trust the cardio, but I do think at the same time, if it gets extended, de Lima can really still put up a lot of points, even though he gasses and fights himself, which takes me out of the 100%. But if this is a striking match and it makes it out around one, it's not going to be great. So yeah, I'm not going to make a rule for this. But if you're doing like 5 to 10 lineups, I probably would, just for all three of those fights, make a rule and then figure out the rest from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the decision odds, plus 375 is de Lima to win by decision. Tafa's plus 850. So if these guys gas, books, and I definitely agree, de Lima should win the decision. And that's because if it goes all 15, he's probably on top wrestling at least one full round, maybe another full round, unless these guys really just are both sitting at range, throwing a couple strikes per minute and just no one's falling and it's boring that way. I'm not hoping it's going to be the case. I'm not making a rule in this one. Like de Lima, 8,500. Merab's 8,600. He's going to get a lot of ownership. Fluffy Hernandez right in this range. Taporia Volk's cheaper. We talked about the Zang Roberio. So there's ways to get around this fight. Only big boy fight on the card, minus 500 to finish, though. I'm definitely going to be playing some of it. I'm glad you reminded me, Big Marley. Quinlan's in here. Quinlan, I hope you are still watching. He wanted to give away 4 memberships to people that are not a member yet and tie them with a $25 UFC ticket for this week. The main GPP this week, $25. You can win $100K. I believe it's $100K. Maybe it's even $200K this week. I think it's $100 though. He wants to give away 4 memberships to new people and then tie in one $25 ticket to each of those memberships. My thought process was we could do 2 on the show. Again, if you aren't a member right now and you want to be a member and you want to have a chance at this, put in the YouTube chat, say why you. I was thinking maybe 2 on the show, then go 2 in the YouTube comments. So if you are watching on playback, put your closest significant strikes to the main event total. So Volk and Topuria, total significant strikes in that. That's all you got to do. And say you're not a member. So actually, I'm going to put that in the comments too. Significant strikes, and then say that you're not a member and why you would like this. I'll go back. I'll find the 2 closest next week, of course, when the fights are over. I'll go back, look at the YouTube comments. Whoever was the 2 closest to get those significant strikes. And again, assuming you're not a member and you want in, we will give it away and follow up there. Does that sound right to you, to Big Marley? You want to give away 4. Very generous. I think that's the best way we can do it.
I like that. And I would say that anybody that lays the comment right now while we're live, just double up. Give us another answer in the post show. Just refresh. Give us another answer there so you guys have 2 shots at it.
There we go. Absolutely. So shout out to you, Quinlan. Again, we'll do 2. If you're not a member, you want to get in right now, we'll give away 2 right there if there's enough. Otherwise, we'll roll it over. 2 would be 3 in the YouTube comment section. But shout out to you, Quinlan. Very nice of you. 1 ticket, $25 with a membership. Shout out to you, man. He's also giving away $200 PGA ticket as well, $50K up top, coming off a massive $250,000 for my man, Quinlan. So sick, so sick. Yes, sir. Let's keep it going, though. Next fight on the card, we have, this is, I think this one's kicking off the main card, or isn't it Lemos Dern kicking off the main card? No,
this is the 6th.
They're going Kopylov. Yeah, they're going the Hernandez Kopylov. So this is the feature prelims right here. We've had a lot of line move in this one. So Amanda Lemos coming as a small favorite, open -270 against Mackenzie Dern, now sitting around -123. Mackenzie Dern +101 on the way back. This fight's -165 to finish. Lemos +130 inside the distance. Dern +275. Odds in this, or projected ownership we have for this one. We have Lemos 22%, Mackenzie Dern 22%. How do you see this one going down, Big Marley?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight to target because I see it being a Lemos TKO or a Dern submission, and either of those are going to score well. I just think that it's going to take 1 takedown for Dern to really have a chance at a submission. She's going to dominate. If she gets 1 takedown, I think she spends the rest of the time in a dominant position, or she finishes the fight. But if she just spends the rest of that round in a dominant position, I don't know that she's going to get any more takedowns. Like, this is not a girl that sells out for takedowns. She averages less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes. And Lemos is going to be the better striker here. If she can defend the 3 or 4 takedowns that Dern throws out there early, then Dern might just give up and then start falling back on her striking game. And it's kind of a similar matchup to Dern's last fight where she's just fighting a better, way more powerful striker. And she got knocked down 4 times in her last fight. I think that Lemos kind of has that sort of upside here too. So I'm going to be heavy on it. But I also think that it's not an all-in fight because if Lemos wins a striking decision here, she's not going to be on the optimal lineup. So right now I got it as a 4-star on the rankings for that reason. But in my hand builds, I'm probably going to be looking at this quite a bit, getting in either one of them. But my preferred play is going to be Lemos, mainly because I was super heavy on Andrade last time, and that really helped me have a good night. So I'm just going to go back to the well and pick Lemos by knockout.
Yeah, no, you absolutely nailed that fight, the last one. And, I mean, it feels like this Lemos and Andrade have so many similarities and really heavy hands. I mean, Dern, if she's on the feet, she's probably cooked. Like, she took a lot of damage in that fight. The power she has coming the way of Lemos, like, Lemos isn't going to be worried about it at all. However, talk about clash of styles. I mean, it might take 1 takedown from Mackenzie Dern, who is not a wrestler who goes out there and shoots takedowns like that, but she is that level of grappler. I'm going Mackenzie Dern again. Again, I was on her against Andrade at that line. I feels like I have to be at this line against Lemos, but it's also the line movement that keeps getting me too. Like -270, and it's been all week as Dern continued to take money. Even a couple days ago, it was sitting at what, -130. Now it's -120. This line could close -110 even. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So I guess at that point, if this line does and Dern keeps taking money and this line closes a pick 'em or something, I guess then I would have more interest in the Lemos side because of the $400. I'd assume Dern would be a lot more higher owned then Lemos, and then that's the only way I'd probably go on the more Lemos side. So the line stays where it is now. I'm on Dern, $400 savings. Just get a takedown, finish it that way. But if Dern keeps taking money and then we see projected ownership on Friday, Marley have like Dern at 30 and Lemos at 18, then I think that's somewhere where I could get behind the Lemos side. Easy way to get different on a pretty chalky card. Oh, thank you. Right there. So yeah, comment. This will be in the YouTube chat. So you do it there. In the YouTube chat, comment the total significant strikes, Topuria, Volk, all together. We will check back after the fights next week. But yeah, a couple of people right here. Yeah, Cam in here. Ben, I do know you're always in here. You are. I know we did give you monthly membership as well on an NFL show. Going to try and give it to a couple people that have not had it already. Travis Duarte, I want to say you also did get one in the past. Again, I didn't say that earlier, but let me know for sure. Cam, I'm not sure you have. Trying to get some new people the 1 month experience at shippingnation.com. 5 fights left. Main card, Tom, man. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, -255, taking on Roman Kopylov at +215. Looking at the inside the distance prop in this one, -280. Hernandez +100. Kopylov +195. Ownership in this one, we got Hernandez 36%. We have Kopylov at 19%. Man, I was trying to talk myself into some Kopylov in this one. I'm going to play some Kopylov for sure. I was trying to talk myself into a Kopylov pick. It's another clash of styles. Wrestler and Fluffy Hernandez, striker and Kopylov. Kopylov, 11 of his 12 wins by KO. Nasty head kicks, good body kicks, southpaw. Just a dangerous, well-rounded fighter. But man, Fluffy Hernandez has that pace. We're going to talk about Merab next. Anthony Hernandez averages more takedowns per 15 minutes than Merab. It's very little, but it is a little more right there. In his UFC wins, 5 of them, 116, 120, 117, 94, and 135. 6.79 takedowns per 15, 4.72 significant strikes per 15 minutes. I don't know, man. I will definitely be playing this fight. Can Kopylov, I guess, keep up the pace, or can he catch Fluffy early? Because I think that's what he needs. Otherwise, Fluffy's going to be on him, chain wrestling for days. So great fight for sure, though.
Yeah, I think it's got to be knockout or bust for Kopylov, but he is the better striking edge. He's going to have a big striking edge, more dangerous striker for sure. It's just that Hernandez is not going to accept a striking match. And Kopylov doesn't get to dictate where this fight takes place. So if Kopylov wins, it's going to be a knockout. And in any round, like if it's the third round and he loses the first 2 to wrestling, he might not get there. But I think it's more likely early. He just doesn't give Hernandez time to get off on his wrestling, and he knocks him out early and he breaks the slate. So I like Kopylov for that knockout potential, but Hernandez is going to be one of my top plays on the slate. He is averaging over 116 DraftKings points in his wins, and his path to victory in this fight is through the ground. And this guy is somebody who can chain wrestle for an entire 15 minutes. Kopylov could not keep up with his pace. So I just expect Hernandez to drown Kopylov and finish him late, but we don't even need the finish from Hernandez. Maybe the longer this goes, the more it helps us, because he could just be landing more and more takedowns, racking up the control time. Those little baby punches start adding up. So he could have a huge ceiling here. And at 8,800, he could outscore Nakamura. So I like Hernandez a lot. I'm going to be very heavy on this fight. Definitely want some Kopylov hedge exposure. But Hernandez is the preferred play. He's the pick to win. And I expect 100+ from him if he does get his hand raised.
Yeah, I do think the round 1 prop, I do think Kopylov is more live early than late for a KO. Like you said, he just doesn't let Fluffy get off on it. He doesn't let him get into the legs, get into the hips, keeps him at distance, pause those kicks. I mean, Kopylov is very, very dangerous. That head kick he had in Utah couple months ago was absolutely insane on Kopylov. So yeah, great fight to target. I like the Fluffy side more even at the ownership, because even in a decision win, like you said, you probably want a decision from Hernandez. Most of his fights, at least second, third, or decision win, and he can put up the 130 points in the decision with all the takedowns. If Kopylov can't get there in round 1, I think he probably slows down. Hernandez known for his cardio. And man, you're just going to see multiple of them. So this fight is probably one of my favorite fights on the card. And I probably even like it more than the Lima Tafa fight, because I think if Fluffy wins, it's going to be a big boy score. And if Kopylov wins for the price at 7,300, there's some dogs maybe will come through, but I think he probably puts up, it's a knockout. So I see Fluffy big score. I see Kopylov knockout. Definitely one of my favorite fights on the card. And before we get in this Merab fight, if you had to pick one of Merab or Fluffy Hernandez, who would you pick? He said,
I don't know, man. I mean, they're so similar.
I'll go Fluffy.
But I think, yeah, I'm going to go Fluffy because like his wrestling edge is so much bigger than Merab's wrestling edge in this fight, but we'll get there.
Well, we'll go right here. The Merab Cejudo. The reason I said the Hernandez was, I guess we'll get right into it, and I'll get my breakdown quick. So Merab, Dvalishvili, Henry Cejudo, 8,600. Merab, 7,600. Cejudo, Merab coming in about minus 220, plus 180 on the way back for Cejudo. This is the second fight on the card expected to go the distance, plus 215 for this fight to finish. Cejudo, the dog, with better finishing odds at plus 375. Merab plus 440. And yeah, so what we've seen Merab score in his UFC wins: 167, 78, 164, 108, 74, 148, 136, 124, 129. Absolutely insane. You would take all of those 9 wins, you would take 7 of those wins. He scored 74 and 78. Now, man, that 78 win was against Jose Aldo. Aldo's known for some of the best takedown defense. Henry Cejudo is known for having some of the best takedown defense, very high IQ, etc. So why I picked the Hernandez side over Merab if I had to pick is I could see this fight being somewhat like the Aldo fight, where he just used his strength. He got in the clinch, got against the fence. He went 0 for 16 on takedowns in that fight. But his little strikes against the face that aren't significant, but they add up, his pace, his pressure, a million outs for Merab to get there in the decision. But I do agree, Fluffy Hernandez, I do side with, just because I think he's either going to sleep or he'll have more success with takedowns as it goes on, whereas Cejudo does have good takedown defense. But Cejudo's a fade for me, I will say that. Fading Cejudo, I'm playing some Merab.
Fade, I think it fades ballsy because Cejudo's
He's gonna be fighting off takedowns for 30. I'm picking Merab and I feel good about it, but I hate playing anyone against Merab because he just stifles the offense. All you're worrying about is takedowns, and he just stifles the offense. But talk to me why you're playing some Cejudo.
Well, I'm playing some Cejudo because he is the more skilled striker in this one. He's the more dangerous striker in this one, and he's also the better wrestler. And if he can get on top of Merab, I think he could do well in top position.
You think you think you could control him for minutes? You don't think Merab would like?
I don't know that he could control him, but I think he could land takedowns and maybe land a decent amount of strikes while he's on the ground. But at 7,600, I would expect Cejudo to score more than 10x if he does win the fight. But I mean, he's the better striker, he's the better wrestler. But Merab is a nonstop machine who never stops coming forward. So his pace alone in the striking can just kind of wash out all the skill from Cejudo, and Merab can win a striking match just on pace alone. He never slows down. He went for like 49 takedown attempts in his last fight, unheard of. So just wrestling pace alone, he could beat Cejudo in wrestling as well. If we take out those 2 70-point wins from him, Merab is averaging over 139 points in his other 7 wins. That's insane. He also has scored a 99 in a 3-round loss. So Merab is just DraftKings gold, and I always want to be heavy on Merab. But matchup-wise, this is going to be a tough one to have a shot at 139. I don't think that's in play. And I think 70 is in play. So for that reason, I do choose Fluffy over Merab. But I'm also fine going Merab over Nakamura. So I just like them both. I'll probably be pretty heavy on them both. But I do think it's a tough matchup for Merab here. I almost never pick against this guy. I love his pace, love his pressure, love his takedown attempts. And he never slows down. He could do it for 20 rounds, it seems like. So give me Merab to just set a pace Cejudo can't keep up with and probably win all 3 rounds. And I'm guessing he scores well, but Man, over or under 100 points? What would you say? Let's say he is going to win. Is he going to score? Is he going to hit 100?
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me he's going to win, I'm going to say he's going to hit it just because the odds are more in your favor than not. But it's not a strong take by any means. Like, I very much can see it kind of going like the Aldo fight. I don't know. You got me kind of thinking, like, do I leave Cejudo in the pool and stuff? The problem is, like, I can make a case for almost all these guys. So would you rather vet? I don't know. There's so much.
I also think I don't remember what my ownership was on Cejudo, but I think the name alone is going to bring some ownership there. Probably over 20% was I'm guessing.
You had 22, yeah. So just seeing that, I'm easy back to.
Yeah, so I think that is another thing that could help me kind of get away. But I don't see me fading him. It's more I'd rather have 10% Cejudo, something like that. Especially if I end up with a lot of Merab here, because I just won't be surprised at all to see Cejudo win this fight. Yeah. I just think that he's on his way out. Merab's on his way to being a champion. So got to go with Merab.
Yeah. Do you see a path where Cejudo wins but isn't optimal? Like puts up like 70, 75.
Yeah, just a back and forth fight. He lands 3 takedowns. Merab lands 4 takedowns. Cejudo has 76 significant strikes, and it's like it's around 10x or something like that. And I think that there's other underdogs who have better chances of scoring 100 points.
For sure. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I'm still going to keep this fade Cejudo in 20 and below again, especially seeing that ownership. I would love for the name value to get him some there. I'm picking Merab. It's just the pace and the pressure, and I'm not playing Cejudo because I think he'll constantly be worrying about the takedowns that stifles his offense. No doubt he's the better striker, though. It's just Merab's got that grit, that heart, that pace, that cardio that very few have in the game. So, yeah, give me Merab in this one as well. 3 fights left to go. We'll probably be a couple minutes late. But again, we do have the PGA show starting in 3 minutes. Hoop to Jen Tambo. Make sure to check that out. Very exciting stuff at the Nation. Head over weekly, monthly, 6-month, annual packages. Best MMA ownership out there. Got slate plan, fight rankings, etc. Everything will be on the site. Marley stuff is now. Stuff will be finalized by Friday. Any updates needed will be updated, of course. Monster NBA slate. NBA All-Star break coming up. 13-gamer, I believe. Today, we got the NHL going on. PGA locking tomorrow as well. No better time. Get into shippingnation.com. No better price in the industry. Weekly, 6-month, annual. Head over, get in the Discord, check it out. 3 fights left. Ian Garry, Jeff Neal. Minus 235 is Ian Garry. Plus 200 is Jeff Neal. This fight slightly favored to finish at minus 120. Ian Garry plus 200 inside the distance. Jeff Neal plus 275. So it sounded like you like Jeff Neal, or it sounded like you liked Ian Garry more than Whitaker and Miranda Maverick. If so, let me know how I see this fight going. I think Ian Garry wins a decision. I have more Jeff Neal interest in DFS. I just think at the end of the day, Garry can pick him apart from range. Better defensively sound fighter. He's definitely in his prime now. I just think Jeff Neal, Ian Garry's chirped him so much. Maybe Jeff Neal will be fighting more emotions. I don't know for sure about that. I just think Garry, defensively sound, except the Song Kanan fight, can pick him away. The teep kicks, the leg kicks, to just outpoint him and be more technical. However, Jeff Neal, and with the pricing and everything, he's live to catch the chin, man. And when he does, he's going to probably be optimal. Plus 275 inside the distance for 7,100. I actually like Jeff Neal more than Ian Garry in DFS at the pricing, but my pick's Ian Garry to win a decision.
Yeah, and I don't really like Ian Garry. I think those 3 favorites are all kind of fades, in my opinion. Yeah. It's just if I had to rank them, I think he would be my favorite because I think he has all the skill edges, really. Neal's a really good boxer, has a lot of power. He's hard to take down, so I do expect a striking match here. But a first-round knockout puts Garry in contention for the optimal. There's no guarantees at that, but a first-round knockout from Neal puts him on the optimal at 7,100. So I wouldn't
Neal
even
has better. On Bet Online, Neal's 500 plus 500 round 1. Gary's plus 550.
Wow, that's interesting actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that makes me lean towards Neal if I had to use this fight. But I just think that Garry is just so much more skilled. He's going to be hard to hit. Kind of reminds me of the Wonder Boy Neal fight where I was heavy on Neal in that fight, and he just couldn't get going because he couldn't find Wonder Boy. And Garry is sort of like a more dangerous Wonder Boy, especially at this point in their careers. And I think he is just going to find his way to kind of put on a little striking clinic and win 30-27, which I don't like, especially on DraftKings at $9,100. So my preferred play is to just be underweight on this fight. I'm not against fading Ian Garry. I actually put it as a 2-star on my rankings, and 2-star is not good. So I usually stay away from those. But at the same time, I'm not going to X either one of these guys out of an MME player pool. And I think that the first round knockout's in play for both sides. There's heat on both sides. Both of them are going to come in here pissed off. So I'm just looking forward to it, but I'm expecting Garry to win and score less than 10x.
Yeah, I like it. We see it the same. I got Garry winning, scoring, not on the optimal. That's all I care about. I will take a Jeff Neal, though. If Jeff Neal knocks him out, I would love to see Ian Garry go down, and my lineups would like that because I'm definitely playing some Jeff Neal. And what we got, odds or ownership, 17% Ian Garry, 13% Jeff Neal. Looks about right to me for sure. 2 fights left on the card. I look at this fight, co-main event, a lot like we just talked about that last one in a lot of ways. Whitaker, Paulo Costa, minus 245 is Rob, plus 210 on the way back is Costa. Ownership in this one, 9,000, 7,200 is the pricing. Whitaker, 16%, Costa, 23%. So the dog higher owned than the favorite. I do think that is the case as well. Plus, or inside the distance props, plus 230, Whitaker, plus 300 is Costa. I guess I'll throw it right back to you on a couple questions. Like this Whitaker Ian Garry fight, pretty much the same money line odds, similar inside the distance props, like on the bottom half of this slate. I want to say both fights primarily stay on the feet. I don't know. Do you think Whitaker tries to mix in takedowns at all? I guess I'll throw it to you on that, but I don't love this. These 2 fights and that Lee Maverick fight, some of my least favorite fights on this card, and I won't have too much exposure to them. I prefer, especially at the ownership, I prefer the Whitaker side over the Costa side. If he's going to be lower owned on coming off an awful performance on a slate that's pretty chalky, I'll play some Rob to get different up top. I know it's either going to be Maverick or Ian Garry now. That's going to be my fade looking at the ownership. But I think this fight probably busts more times than not. Everyone's down on Whitaker, so I guess start. Who do you like in this fight?
Well, Whitaker's my least favorite of those 3 that you named because I'm picking him to get knocked out in the first round. So I'm going to be heavier on Costa in this one, and I'll be probably fading Whitaker. But if he doesn't get knocked out in the first round, like if this is a video game and we're turning knockouts off, I think that Whitaker should win the second and the third round. With striking, even just being the better striker with more cardio in the tank, more pressure, higher volume. But he could also start landing takedowns in the second and third round as well. But in that first round, man, I think Costa is going to be the scarier guy. I think he's going to be coming forward probably on some new special supplements. And he's just going to be throwing bombs. And I think that crowd's going to fire him up. I think he's going to knock out Whitaker in round 1 and be on the optimal lineup. So I will be overweight to him for that reason. But if he does not get the knockout, I don't think he has any chance at 100 points, and we're more at that point playing for a 10x live underdog, which I'm okay with as well. I just think it's the best path for him. Winning is his highest ceiling as well, and that's what I like about it. Whitaker, I think, more towards the end of his career. Not that Costa is, on his way up anymore, but he's still one of the scariest strikers I've ever seen, to be honest with you. And the power is real. Supplements will be there. I think he knocks him out first round.
Yeah, I initially had this fight as Whitaker underweight, Costa overweight, until I saw your ownership projections, which probably is right. Whitaker, the lower owner at 16 compared to Costa as one of the higher dogs at 23. And I think that's where it just keeps – there's been a lot of interesting line movement in this one. So Whitaker opened minus 300, which I was shocked at. Like, he couldn't have looked worse against DDP. Costa, people always do love. So immediately Costa got by all the way down to like minus 200. Fights were, it was minus 185 a couple weeks ago. And then, man, ever since this week, we had Whitaker started to take more money. Now sitting minus 245. It was down to 270 for a little bit. Costa got some buyback. Definitely, like Mark's talking about, Keep an eye on weigh-ins in this one. Costa always shredded, always has to cut a ton of weight. I worried a little bit about cardio, like you were talking, Tambo, but man, that Vettori fight.
Just called me
Like,
Tambo.
granted,
Nicest thing anybody's ever called me.
I said Tambo. Oh my goodness. A lot of people, Tambo and Big Marley, they would call each other brothers or something. People call them brothers, like King of the Beach or King of the Desert, because they look familiar. So I guess somehow I was calling Big Marley Tambo. But what was I on it? Do you think Whitaker can wrestle at all in this one?
I think he's left to get like 2 to 4 takedowns. But I don't know that he would do enough with them. Like, we almost need him at his price.
You definitely need him.
Yeah, so that's what I just don't like it enough. His price is too high for me. I don't really see him knocking Costa out, especially early. And I'm not even like, if this was a 1-round fight, man, I feel like I kind of favor Costa a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like the odds would be closer.
And I was looking at the round 1 odds, and Whitaker has better round 1 odds as well, which I do not agree with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see. I want to X out Whitaker, to be honest with you. I won't play him with any of my hand builds, but I might X him out at 150.
Fair play. I'm gonna play some as the lower owned fighter in this fight, and you get some leverage off of Costa, but I totally do get it. 12 fights on the card. We got 1 fight left. Again, Quinlan giving away 4 memberships. 2 will be on the show. I've already wrote some names down right now. 2 people are gonna get one after this next fight. It's a monthly membership at chippination.com with a $25 UFC ticket. I want to say it's 100K. It could be 200K. Big Marley, you can let me know what first place is on DraftKings this week. 200K, baby. At 25, you have a chance at a monthly membership and a chance at $200,000 from Quinlan off of 1 entry. So, again, all you have to do, watching live right now in the YouTube chat, say you're not a member. If you're watching on playback, put in the YouTube comments, that you're not a member, why you want one, and then the significant strikes total from Volk and Topuria together in the main event. The closest 2 will get one. Again, you do have to put why you think or why you should get a membership, why you would want one, why you'd use it, etc. in that as well. So again, we'll pick one after this last breakdown. We'll pick 2 people and then comment that as well below. We will pick next week. We will look back at the comments. Main event time, baby. What a great fight this is going to be. Alexander the Great Volkanovski taking on Elliott Topuria. -125 is Volk. +105 is Topuria. This fight right in the mid-tier, 8,200, 8K. Odds in this, or ownership in this one, we have Volk at 47, Elliott at 48. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see ownership like that at all. See my man Tyler in chat. Elliott season title. Got Poton. Volk is overrated. He's in for a cruel awakening. You know what? On all this stuff, Marley, I'll throw it to you first, because when you were over a couple of days ago, that was your lean. Is that still your lean?
Yeah, I'm picking Topuria by knockout. I mean, a lot of it kind of having to do with Volk getting up there in age, coming off of a brutal knockout to a guy known to be a grappler. Up a weight class, though. But he kind of – I was listening to I don't know if it was the countdown or like embeddeds, and he was talking after the fight. He was talking to his team like, man, thought this was the best way to do it. Come in here, take the fight, get back on there. Been drinking every day. Just had losing thoughts going through my mind all the time. And that can't be better after you get knocked out cold. So I feel like his mental mindset can't be the best coming into this. He's back down to his division, which helps. Best guy we've ever seen in this division. Can wrestle with the best of them, can strike with the best of them, has power with the best of them, has the volume with the best of them. But Topuria has all that stuff too. And I've been calling Topuria to be a future champion. Now's the time it's going to happen. I have a good rate, I feel like, at hitting these guys who I call a future champion early in their UFC careers. So that is also, swaying my pick towards Topuria. But he's $200 cheaper. So there's just more possible combinations of lineups I can have with him. So I like him more for DraftKings for that reason. But I will make a rule. I want this fight in every one of my lineups because it is the mid-range priced fight of the week. And I think that we have a better chance at the winner scoring 120 than we do less than 10x in this one. And I would expect 100+ points from whoever it is. And I also think this is one of those fights where it could be fight of the year, and that is a stack that ends up making it on the optimal lineup. So I might even hand build a 1 to 3 main event type of stack lineups because I love this fight so much. But give me Topuria to knock him out. I hope I'm wrong, man. I want this to be a fight of the year fight because this is just the perfect matchup on paper where it could be a complete all-around MMA game from both sides. Could be a high-paced fight. We could get multiple knockdowns from either side. I just cannot wait for this fight. This is appointment TV for me, worth the pay-per-view alone. I really won't be too upset if Topuria loses either because I'm a huge Volk fan. I love seeing Volk win. Always great on the mic. Nothing to not like about Volk. So I'm just going to be happy either way, and I hope that going into the main event, I have 2 live lineups, and whoever wins, I'm there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the easiest hedge spot. It's just say somehow you were going to win $200K or even like $80K if Topuria wins, like bet Volk at minus 125. The odds are close enough. It's an easy hedge spot if you want to do it that way. In terms of my pick, I'm going Volk. The reason for that, I mean, I think Islam would be the 170 champion. So I don't think even Volk came up 1 weight class. He damn near came up 2 weight classes to fight a monster at 155, who I think is probably pound for pound right now. The first fight was insane. Then we came, second fight, Islam walked him. Volk said he was drinking, etc. So maybe it wasn't the best Volk. But we saw him put an absolute great fight against Islam the first time around. And then you look at what else he's done. Max Holloway, one of the best of all time right here in the featherweight division. I mean, he lit him up 3 times. I guess one of the fights was relatively close, but he made Max look human. Absolutely dominates Yair Rodriguez. I think Yair is a complete stud. He's fought everybody out there. I just think at the end of the day, he is the GOAT of the division. He's getting up there in age. Ilya's a young cat. I just think Volk's going to be steady. The jab's going to be there, defensively sound, rip the body. What do you think for like takedowns and stuff? Who do you like? I think Volk has better chance of getting takedowns than Ilya due to the strength advantage. What do you think? Or do you think he's going to be scared of like the grappling from Ilya that way? I don't even think he'll do that because he did against Ortega.
I don't know. Maybe a slight edge to Volk in wrestling, but Topuria is the more dangerous grappler.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love this fight. Like, these are my 2 favorite guys in the division. And I've just been calling Topuria to be the champion, but when I was saying that in my head, I was thinking Volk will be out by the time that happens. Like, that's a tough fight for Topuria. So I don't know. I mean, it does seem a little bit weird that it is a straight pick'em type of fight. I would have thought Volkanovski would be a little bit of a favorite, especially from just the name and everything he's done in the past. So the line almost looks trappy, but
it does.
That's the way I'm already leaning.
For sure.
Got to roll with Topuria.
Yeah, I mean, these guys fight 10 times very well to be 6'4", even 5'5". We'll have a better idea after Saturday night. I'm riding with the man Volk. Quinlan was giving away, riding with Volk. Poatan, Tyler riding with Ilya. It's going to be a great fight for sure, though. The last thing I will say on this one, I'm definitely not going to have any stacks. I almost rarely do. But mainly the reason for me on this card is there's just so many. Almost all these fights are expected to finish. And then even the ones that aren't is like Merab. Well, Merab doesn't need to finish. Miranda Maverick, Andrea Lee, like the one fight that's not supposed to. It's still not the craziest thing to think Maverick does dominate wrestling. Or Lee just lands 7 significant strikes per minute, wins the decision, is on the optimal. So they're just I need enough big scores on this card where I'm not going to get to the fight stack personally. What do we got? Okay. The 2 winners earlier for the monthly membership and the $25 UFC ticket, shout out to Quinlan, is Travis Duarte is number 1. Let me pull up the comments. I thought Travis did initially win. He said he has never won. I pulled up the wrong one, but Travis Duarte, you said the significant strikes. Even if you don't get that, you do get the monthly membership from Quinlan. And the other one, we had my man Cam. Seen you a couple times in here, not too often though. Not a member, 260 total significant strikes. Hey, even if there's only 1 landed, you still do get the membership. Shout out to you, Quinlan. All you have to do, Cam and Travis Duarte, take a picture of your YouTube, email at info@shipitnation.com. Take a picture of YouTube, email info@shipitnation.com. let them know. Monthly membership, $25 UFC ticket, and that is all from Quinlan, who won $250,000. So shout out to you, Quinlan. Going to be a fun card, Big Marley. 12 fights in Anaheim. Please, please, please keep all 12 fights. Of course, everything will be on the site. Like always, I'm going to be heading over to the Jandiroba Hoop Show in a sec, see what they got to say. Rio and I back in 2 hours, 15 minutes, talking to big boy NBA slates. Final thoughts for the people, Big Marley.
Nah, man, can't wait for this one. Have fun out there with Rio. It's going to be a blast. I am jealous. Hopefully you guys get a little bit of blood on you ringside. But yeah, have fun. Good luck to you. Good luck to everybody listening. Thanks a lot, Quinlan, for giving away those memberships. Congrats to you for all the success as well. But let's ship it this weekend. I can't wait.
Yeah, let's ship it. Let's get some blood on me. I will take some blood right there. Cool, and appreciate that as well. Travis Duarte, Cam, shout out to you as the winners. Let's head over to the golf show. Hit that like button on the way out. Much appreciated. Head over to shippingnation.com. Good luck, everybody, this week for Big Marley on Titletown. Have a good day.